Hey, everybody. David Swor here once again with DJ Cox for another episode of Frenemies. And DJ, we're just in it for the fans, buddy. We're here on a Sunday afternoon, sleepy Sunday afternoon. Be a great time to be taking a nap, but we couldn't do that. We had to work today. And we're going to talk about a tough subject today, the Colorado Rockies, DJ. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Tell us a little bit about the 2020 Colorado Rockies.
Man, dive in is no joke. We're doing the Rockies, and that just goes to show you that we are true baseball fans, David, because this is going to be a rough one, no doubt, for Rockies fans. Uh, the Rockies in 2020, David, had a really, really tough season. They were 26-34 and finished fourth place. The problem, David, is they jumped the gun from July 24 when the season started till August 8th. These guys were 11-3 and like the best team in baseball for the first 14 games of the season. And then the tires just fell off and the season went completely south after that. And went 15-31 from then on overall. Lost 12 out of 14 right after they went 11-3. So they had a great beginning and then immediately had a bad little stretch there out of their next 14 games. Not really well at all. At the beginning, I didn't know what was up with them playing so well. I was really intrigued by this. I was like, where do these guys come from? Because we did not pick them to finish anywhere close to the top. So it was no joke. They had a good offense, obviously. And that offense was carrying them there at the beginning. But the pitching just did not impress, and it was rough. The Rockies were 12-18 at home. And that's a big problem with the Rockies, David. If they are 12-18 at home at Coors Field, you have to take advantage of that being your home stadium. It's probably one of the biggest home advantages you can have as far as knowing the elevation there. It does make a difference. So if you can take advantage of that as a team, that being your home stadium, I can see that being one of the biggest home field advantage in all of baseball. Didn't happen. 14-16 on the road, which they were actually better on the road than they were at Coors, which is weird. Just crazy. Charlie Blackmon was awesome. 6 bombs, 42 ribbies, hit 303, 352 on base. He actually started on an absolute tear. He was the best player in baseball for that 14-game stretch. His numbers were off the charts. He was around 400 batting. There was talk of him hitting 400 for the season, and he barely hit over 300. So he went south a little bit too after that 14-game on fire slot as well. Arenado was okay last year. 8 bombs, 26 ribbies. 253 batting average, 303 on base. And John Gray, David, just continues to disappoint. The guy that they've built up in their system, supposed to be one of their aces for years to come. I've never been impressed with John Gray. 2-4 last year with a 6.69 ERA. This team bombed out of the gate and just fizzled out. For a while there, I thought I missed something, but then they came back to earth, and it looks like they may be going to baseball purgatory for the 2021 season, David. So Bud Black's a great manager, don't get me wrong. And, and the 2020 Rockies 14 games into a short 60-game season looked like a for sure playoff team. And then reality hit them hard. So, David, what did you think of the 2020 Rockies overall?
Well, honestly, it reminds me a whole lot of the Phillies, just to be honest with you. That's the last team that we did. It's kind of a similar situation. If you remember, they were 5th or 6th in the league in batting. That's exactly where the Rockies are slotting in, but kind of weird. This is the Rockies. What are the Rockies known for? Known for bombs. And they were 11th out of 16 teams or 15 teams in bombs. So that was kind of a weird thing with the Rockies. But, man, the pitching, although it had some bright spots, German Marquez, he shows flashes. He's a very frustrating guy to have on your fantasy team. He goes through stretches where he's absolutely unhittable, and he goes through stretches where he absolutely gets bombed. But he had a good season last year, 3.75 ERA. Antonio Senzatella kind of busted out last year. And I watched him pitch a couple games, and, man, he is nasty. Big, heavy sinker. He had a 3.44 ERA last year. And Kyle Freeland, a guy that a lot of folks forgot about, he had a pretty good year last year, 4.33. If you remember 2 years ago, DJ, I believe he finished 4th in the Cy Young. That's a big accomplishment when you pitch in Colorado. But he came crashing back to earth the following year, and then this past year kind of turned it around. The story of the year for the Rockies was my boy Daniel Bard. 4-2 with a 3.65 ERA. I believe he was out of baseball 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know exactly. But it was pretty cool to see him get a comeback. And I think he had the yips before, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was pretty cool to see him come back and become the closer. But other than those guys, the rest of it was terrible from a pitching standpoint. Again, a lot like the Phillies, man, their bullpen was just pitiful behind those guys. And to be honest, DJ, they didn't do much to help it either. Let's just be straight about it for our Rocky fans. But they did make some additions. Obviously, they made one big subtraction, which is Nolan Arenado. And that's a trade, man, that a lot of people thought that the Rockies didn't do very well in. What did you think about that?
I thought it was an awful trade. It was one of the worst trades I've ever seen, to be honest with you. I still don't get it. I have no idea who these guys are that they got. Austin Gomber is probably going to be their fifth starter, who they picked up in that trade. But then you got Mateo Gil, and then three other guys who I'm not even going to try to say their names. I don't even know how to pronounce them, but 4 prospects and the fifth starter for probably the best third baseman in all of baseball. The general manager, man, I'm telling you, he thinks he should fire himself after this trade. He admitted it. I don't know what they're doing. They gave the Cardinals a ton of money too to take him, basically. I just don't understand it. They signed him to a massive long-term deal, which was kind of a bargain for Arenado, and they ended up just shipping him away and get rid of him. I know there was a little rift going on there, like the Rockies didn't do their job to build around him, and he was frustrated by that. And that goes back to the GM again. And because of that, he had to ship away his best player, and he got mad about it. And so just not a fan of what they're doing in Colorado at all right now. It's crazy to think with such good fans that they have that they did this to their team. CJ Cron was another addition. Robert Stevenson, reliever. Jordan Sheffield, reliever. And Greg Bird, the old Yankee first baseman there. That's it, David. That's all they added. And then the big trade obviously brought them those 5 guys. So all of those guys, I guess CJ Cron is the biggest addition, and he's a good hitter. So if he can hit in Colorado, his numbers may improve a little bit. His 162 game average is 28 bombs with 88 ribbies, so that's pretty solid. In 2018 with Tampa, he had 30 bombs and 74 ribbies. In 2019 in Minnesota, 25 bombs, 78 ribbies. He's a 6'4", 235-pound righty who can play first or DH for them, which they won't have the DH this year, so he'll play a lot of first, I'm sure. Came up through the Angels organization. So I believe he's the key addition for the Rockies this year. What do you think about the additions they made?
Yeah, pretty bad, to be honest. CJ Cron, I mean, he might hit 100 home runs for the Rockies next year. I'm not sure. But, man, they just needed some other things. I'm with you on the Arenado trade. Maybe Austin Gomber turns this around and makes this, a good trade in the end. Arenado wasn't happy, and I can somewhat understand that. But, man, it also felt like the Rockies really weren't all that far away. 8 games under 500 last year, and, it seemed like the pitching had finally started to come around, the starting pitching, and we know, they got Trevor Story, Charlie Blackmon, some nice players. It just seemed like they could have added. But then you got to also remind yourself, they're in the NL West. The worst division to be in right now if you're trying to make a run with the Dodgers and the Padres. And so maybe they just kind of thought, you know what, it's time to reset. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. Their farm system needs a reset. So maybe that's what they were thinking with that trade. But I would keep an eye on Greg Bird, DJ. I really like Greg Bird. I don't know why. He had one good half season with the Yankees where he was the man. And then it was just injuries and this and that. He's a Denver guy. So maybe Greg Bird turns it around. So the best addition, I'm going to go with Austin Gomber. He's a young pitcher. I don't think CJ Cron or Greg Bird or those guys are going to make a long-term difference, but I think Austin Gomber could. So I'm going to go with him as their best addition. DJ, they also had a couple guys that retired or opted out, Ian Desmond and Daniel Murphy. I don't think those guys are really going to move the needle much anyway. David Dahl, he goes to the Rangers. That was kind of a sad thing. He kind of started out with a lot of hype, and it just kind of fizzled out. And then Troy Walters is gone as well. So with all that being said, DJ, why don't you run down the lineup for the Rockies this year?
Yeah, so I just wanted to harp a little bit on a couple of losses you'd mentioned there, David. Ian Desmond, the guy averages about 70 ribbies a year, and this is no joke of a loss for the Rockies. I'm kind of baffled he's off for the second straight season. Like, dude, if you don't want to do this anymore, just go. I mean, I know he forfeited his salary and everything, but it's just weird to me. Like, this guy produces a lot for them. He's a consistent hitter in the lineup that they lost for no reason whatsoever. So they took another hit there too, David. It's like, man, you got Ian Desmond, who's one of your, let's just be honest, man, he's probably a top 5 hitter in their lineup, probably about the 5th guy in there. And so they lost him. They lost Arenado. David Arenado's a platinum gold glove winner. This is the best third baseman in the game, man. From the stretch of 2013 to 2020 with the Rockies, he just dominated. He was the man. And 235 homers during that stretch, 760 ribbies in 8 seasons. Like, that's solid. He's entering his 30-year-old season, so he's not even that old, really. He's just hitting about halfway point in his career. The Rockies just gave him away. I think it was terrible. I feel really bad for Rockies fans. I do. This is no ordinary loss. This is probably the biggest loss that any team took throughout the whole entire offseason, losing a guy like this for basically nothing. Let's just be honest. And he's a career 293 hitter too, man, with a 350 on base percentage. All 8 of his seasons, he's a Gold Glover and a platinum Gold Glover, 5-time All-Star. No joke that they lost him. I don't get it. Big shout out to Daniel Murphy. What a career he had. David Dowell was a stud. I think the Rangers will like him a lot. He's going to be pretty well for them. Kevin Pillar went to the Mets. That was another big loss that they had. Jeff Hoffman to the Reds. Wade Davis to the Royals. Matt Kemp is a free agent. AJ Ramos is a free agent. And Drew Butero to the Rangers. So they did not have a good offseason, David. They didn't add very much, and they lost a ton. I mean, when you think about that, David, like, they lost their best player. They lost their 5th best offensive player. Matt Kemp actually started for them last year, so he's a big loss for them regardless of how you feel about him. He had a pretty good season last year. Daniel Murphy's no joke. David Dowell, ouch. That is a big-time loss in the offseason, so not a fan. What'd you think of Kemp and Dowell, especially those two guys? What do you think of the losses of those two guys?
Probably on the other side of the fence, from you, DJ. Matt Kemp, I think I saw he had about 215, and I know he's still presence in the lineup. He'll still pop one out every now and then, but I don't blame them for letting him go. Kind of time just to see what someone else could do. Now, Dole might be another story. I thought that was weird, and honestly, probably if they had known maybe that Desmond wasn't going to play, maybe they would have kept Dole around. Desmond, they were paying Desmond quite a bit of money. And, I think Dahl was making like $3 million and they let him go. And so it makes me wonder, would they have kept him had they known Desmond was going to opt out? But, and like you said, Desmond is a loss, 70 RBIs. He's kind of been a disappointment in Colorado, though. So, again, are they losses? They don't have players to replace a couple of those guys. But, I don't think it's a fatal loss for them. They got a lot of other problems to deal with as well. So, we'll see. I mean, honestly, their lineup still has some nice pieces. I know you're going to talk about that, but Ramel Tapia had a nice year last year. You still have Trevor Story in there. Charlie Blackmon's still there. So they still got some nice pieces, I think, I think they'll hit a little bit, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So running down the projected lineup, Ramel Tapia is a left fielder, 1 bomb, 17 ribbies, hit 321 last year, 369. So he hit really well. That guy can fly too. He's a speed demon on the base paths. A little out of control at times, to be honest with you, but still a good player nonetheless. Trevor Story is one of the best shortstops in the game. Let's just be honest. 11 bombs, 28 ribbies, 289 batting average, 355 on base. Charlie Blackmon, like I said, started out hitting around 400 in the first 14 games. Ended up with 6 bombs, 42 ribbies, 303, 356 on base. Ryan McMahon, kind of a sneaky little player there, third baseman, 9 bombs, 26 ribbies, 215 with a 295. CJ Cron is penciled in as the first baseman. He hit below 200 with the Tigers, so he had a rough year last year, trying to bounce back a little bit. Sam Hilliard is in center, 6 bombs, 10 ribbies, hit 210, 272 on base. Brendan Rodgers, a guy they've been waiting on a long time to come, big prospect of theirs. Rough year last year with only no homers, two RBIs, 0.95 batting average, but I think he's going to get more consistent time this year, and that was in very limited time. So we'll see what we can get out of Rogers. That's one guy they've been waiting on for a long time, and I think his time has arrived. So, and Elias Diaz, the catcher, 2 bombs, 9 ribbies, 235 last year, 288 on base. You got Dom Nunez, Josh Fuentes, Garrett Hampson, Chris Owings, and Jonathan Daza on the bench. So what do you think overall of that lineup, David?
I think it's got a few pieces. I think playing in Colorado, they'll hit some. Like I said, C.J. Cron seriously might hit 40 homers this year. He really might. He might get DFA'd. I mean, that's kind of where they're at. What's going to be interesting is what are they going to do with Trevor Story, DJ?
Oh,
so
good point.
Do you lock him up, or do you just go in full rebuild mode and try to trade him and get a bunch of prospects? What do you think they should do with Trevor Story?
Well, with the Dodgers and the Padres where they're at, and with the farm system where the Rockies are at, man, I don't know what you do there. You either decide he's going to be your guy you're going to build around for the next 10 years, or you're going to just let him run and you're going to load up your farm system. So I don't know, David, with the whole Arenado trade, to me, it's almost like you just bombed it big time right there with some of the losses they had. I don't know how you move forward with just Trevor Story with the guys you have right now. I think they're in a terrible spot. I really do. I think, Blackman and Story are the wild cards here. What do you do with both of them, to be honest? Those are your 2 best players here. Do you keep them both and build around those 2? Or do you blow it completely up and get a ton? See, that's the thing, though, David, is what do they get back for Trevor Story? They got 5 packs of baseball cards for, Nolan Arenado. So if he's going to make another trade like that for Story, that would be an absolute – I mean, if he doesn't get anything back, what a waste. So if you're not going to get anything back, you're going to do what you did with Arenado, then keep him. Sign him long-term, make him be your guy. But if you can get some top prospects for him, that's the thing I've been seeing a lot, though, David. I don't really understand this whole offseason. It seems like the teams that brought in superstars didn't give very much away at all. Like, there's not hardly any trades where I was like, man, they gave up a lot for that guy. They really didn't. There wasn't that many trades like that. There was a couple probably, but overall, I was like, man, they just stole them. Like, they just basically were giving them away. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with Trevor Story. What do you think? What would you do, David?
I think you got to trade him. I think you need to sell the whole team. Herman Marquez would still bring a lot. Kyle Freeland would probably bring a lot to the right people. Like you said, Blackman possibly. But they're so far away, DJ, so far away. I just think you have to go ahead and start selling a few pieces off. And like you said, you got to make these count. Their farm system ranked 25th by Baseball America, so it's towards the back of the pack. And they're a long way away. So if it were me, I'm selling him off personally and trying to get as much as I can. This is going to be a different year. I think the problem with trading this year was there wasn't a lot of teams in the market. And so, money was limited. And so these teams were having to eat a bunch of money, as the Rockies found out, to get anything back. They just should have sat on Arenado. Obviously that's going to change with fans being back in the stands this year. And they could have just waited a little while and traded. And honestly, this team with Arenado in it definitely looks a lot better. So that's probably what I would have done. But it's too late now. I think they'll trade Story. And again, I think they'll trade off some other guys as well. So what do you think about their rotation, DJ?
The rotation, German Marquez, 4-6 last year, 3.75 ERA, 73 Ks and 81 innings. Really good year there. Kyle Freeland, 2-3, 4.33 ERA, 46 Ks and 70 innings pitched. Antonio Senzatella, 5-3, 3.44 ERA, 41 Ks and 73 innings pitched. John Gray, 2-4, 6.69 ERA, 22 Ks, 39 innings. And Austin Gomber was 1-1 last year with a 186 and 27 Ks and 29 innings. Your closer, once again, is Daniel Bard. Big guy right there. Congrats coming back from, I think he was off like 7 years. No joke. It was unbelievable how you come back from that. But yeah, that 5-man rotation's okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's pretty good. I like Marquez. I like Freeland. I don't know very much about Senzatella, even including how to say his name, like I slaughtered it the first time. So, John Gray, I'm not a fan of, and we'll see what Gomber does. You know, the big return for Arenado. So very interesting. The bullpen's yikes. That's a little scary. But what do you think overall of their pitching, David?
It's rough. I mean, the good news is the rotation does have some nice pieces. And although I think the bullpen is terrible, they are getting Scott Oberg back this year, which a couple years ago he was really good. Michael Givens has had his moments. So they've got some interesting arms. And again, probably they'll mostly end up being trade bait, honestly, down the stretch. But they've got some interesting arms. I actually kind of like the rotation overall. I think Gomber has a chance to be pretty good. So, we'll see. But I'm not hating on the rotation very much. What do you think the team's strengths are, DJ?
So one thing I had mentioned as a strength of this team, and he just left the team, but David, you got to Google James Pazos, who just got released by the Rockies and went to the Dodgers. You got to Google that mustache. Got to Google that mustache. That thing is sick, man. It hangs off to about here. Oh, I know you're a big fan of a great mustache, so you got to Google his mustache and check that out. And I
want the stash back, DJ. We got to have it back.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Maybe I'll do it for you Labor Day weekend. We'll see what we're doing there. So no, but their strengths, to be honest with you, are the two superstars, Charlie Blackmon and Trevor Story. That's it, really, to be honest with you, as far as their strengths go. These two in the lineup, you can find ways to win. You can score some runs. Unfortunately, there isn't much around them in that lineup. I'm not really a big fan of the offense besides those two. But Story and Blackmon can, put it in this year. If the Rockies decide to trade them, they can bring a lot back. If they can't, I don't know. I've lost all faith in the general manager. I really have. So I don't know. I like you said, they're in a tough spot. They're going to finish and they're going to have a terrible season. There's no doubt about it. So you blow the whole thing up and start from scratch. You're gonna start like a 5-year process of being really bad. So it's gonna be a long time before the Rockies are relevant anymore. And like you said, man, with Arenado in that lineup, this is what I don't understand is you add a few pieces there, and Desmond doesn't back out. All of a sudden, you look like a pretty good team with that pitching. The pitching is pretty solid for a Rockies rotation. I'll say that. I'm not a big fan of it overall, but for the Rockies, that's a pretty good rotation they got going there. So I think it's those two, definitely their strengths. What do you got?
I'm with the potential in the rotation. Again, I like Marquez. I think he could be an ace if you get him out of Colorado, to be honest with you. Senzatella and Freeland, they're a little more iffy. And again, I like the potential in Gomber. So I'm going to go with their rotation as a strength. I just don't like enough in their lineup. I like Story. Where Story has some pretty pronounced splits, Colorado and away splits. I mean, it's pretty big. And some team trading for him is going to have to think about that. I would be thinking about that. And to be honest with you, Arenado had a pretty decent sized split. So it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts being there in St. Louis. But like I said, overall, I like their rotation as their biggest strength. What do you have for their biggest weakness?
I think it's the bullpen. That was ranked 29th in the MLB last year in ERA. So it's not going to be very much better this season. I don't like it. Did I mention that I don't like John Gray too? So John Gray, man, that's the problem, David, is they just pampered this guy, thought he was the next ace of their staff. And I don't know what they would get for him if they traded him. Maybe they can trade and go to Florida for spring training or something. They can just switch spots for spring training. Here, we'll give you John Gray if you give us our Arizona location for spring training next year. I don't know what they want to do, but they're not going to get very much for him. Definitely not going to get very many good players. I don't know, man. Starting pitching is okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I like it for the Rockies. But this team is headed for a full rebuild. It really is. So I'm definitely not a fan of that bullpen. I think Daniel Bard's great story, and we'll see if he can maintain what he did last year, pitching so well. But not a fan, so I'm going to go with the bullpen for sure.
I totally agree. And this is again, a head scratcher. If you're Arenado and these guys on this team, Brandon Kinsler signed with the Phillies a minor league deal. And there's so many guys out there that could have been had for a little bit of nothing. That could have really helped this bullpen. And, if they get good starting pitching and their bullpen came around, we know that they're going to hit. Again, 5th in the league last year in hitting. Even without Arenado, you still have to play half those games in Colorado. And so, some of those balls are going to find the seats. And so I just would have liked to have seen them made a little more effort. I understand kind of why they didn't. They're in tank mode, but even if they could have sold Kinsler off at the deadline, it would have been helpful for a guy like Kinsler. So I'm with you 100%. That bullpen, it's going to be a rough year. And they got a couple nice arms, but it's going to be a rough year overall. So,
well, David, you made a good point about Dahl earlier and getting rid of him. And Desmond, if I'm not mistaken, made somewhere between 13 and 15 million that he left on the table. I think that's the number. I'm almost positive it's between 13 and 15 that he walked away from completely. And he did it a little bit late to the Rockies, defense a little bit here. But, you kind of got to know that a guy that opted out in 2020, you got to be in a little more of communication of, hey, what are you thinking a little earlier? And that's another thing I didn't like about the whole Desmond thing too, is he left the Rockies hanging pretty much and he called it out late. If you're going to do that, at least let your employer know, a little bit ahead of time. I'm sure he was battling to his defense a little bit, but he left them hanging, so to speak. There's a lot of money that he left on the table that they could have used, and there's nothing out there right now that he can go get. So he put him in a bad spot, no doubt. And, Dow could have been back there for what, $4 million, you were saying, something like that. I mean, then they could have got some pitching and they could have really helped this team. They could have got 4 guys with that money. So yeah, he definitely left him in a bad spot. So that was kind of a shame to see that.
Even now think about, guys like Yasiel Puig, somebody like that, they could have got cheap.
Yeah.
And again, if nothing else, just trade them off. Trade them off at the deadline.
What is it? Hey, where is Puig? Is he signed yet?
Something's up with Puig. He's damaged goods. I can't figure it out. There's a problem there. There's a big problem. And I don't know if you saw this, DJ. I know we're getting in the weeds here, but we talked about the Rockies for like 20 minutes. So we just got to go off the path here for just a second. So did you see who was the relief pitcher for the Cubs last year that went to the Nationals? I can't think. He was playing for the Brewers. He had Jeremy Jeffress. Did you see that the Nationals released him and basically said he had personal issues? And I heard him say on MLB, this is why he had to sign a minor league deal last year with the Cubs. And I didn't know, being a Cubs fan, if you knew what those personal issues were.
I did not. See, I didn't know anything about this, really, to be honest with you, until he just got released by the Nats. And I'm like, how did he – he had a really good year for the Cubs, to be honest with you. He was like their best reliever last year. I'm just being straight up honest with you. Like, I trusted him more than all of them. It was really crazy, and we got him on a minor league deal. So I don't know what the issue is there. I really don't. I everything I seen from him last year, he seemed like a really good guy. Seemed like he was hanging in there pretty good with the teammates, and I didn't see anything that was a red flag. So it surprised me, man. When I saw he got released, I was like, yeah, that's definitely an issue. And it's the same thing with Puig, man. I don't get it. Like, this guy could have helped somebody last year. He could really help somebody this year. I mean, he's a starter. Let's just be honest. He could start in right field for you. He's got a great arm. He's good defensively. He hustles like crazy. It's got to be the personality and he doesn't click with teammates, and that's a big thing. It really is, and it shies a lot of people away. So it's got to be that, because the talent is definitely there.
One of these days we'll find out. I think there's a major issue there, but
yep.
So let's talk position battles, DJ. What do you have for a position battle to watch this year with the Rockies?
So I'm a little intrigued by the catcher position, David. Elias Diaz is looking over his shoulder a little bit, I believe, at Dom Nunez, who is a prospect for the Rockies for a long time here. He could sneak in there and win a job, and he could, they could split the time here and try to give Dom a little bit more playing time, or they could just go with one of them. I'm not sure what they're going to do here, but Dom has some pop in the bat. I watched a lot of video on him on this week. He's not bad at all, and maybe better of the two offensively. I really believe that in the end. I'm just not sure which of the two. I really don't honestly know which one's a better defensive catcher. So that's one thing I really can't speak of, because I have no idea. But I believe Dom has the better upside offensively. I like his lefty swing. If you get a chance, you'll see that swing's pretty sweet. He's got a nice little smooth move to his motion there. It's pretty sweet. So he's got a big upside. So I'm gonna go with catcher and watch that battle for sure. What do you think?
I'm going to go with first base. Again, CJ Cron, we've talked about him, but there's also Josh Fuentes, who played some last year, had honestly a nice year last year, 306, 2 homers, 17 RBIs. If I'm not mistaken, he's related to Nolan Arenado. I think I read that somewhere. So that's interesting.
He is. Yep.
Yeah, I think brother-in-law or something maybe. So that's pretty cool. And again, I'm a Greg Bird fan. I'm a Greg Bird apologist, I should say. I was ready for him to be out in New York because I just didn't think that was going to work out. Obviously, Luke Voigt took over there, but I'm telling you, man, Greg Bird could be a nice player for them, and put him in the thin air, and he might hit you some bombs. And so I think Cron definitely has the edge there, but watch out for these other guys. I was reading Cron's been cold this spring. And so Fuentes has been hitting well, and Bird as well. Bird had a big grand slam, a walk-off grand slam the other night. So watch out for first base, and one of those guys, could bust out and hit a bunch of home runs. So DJ, what do you think about the farm system? Tell me about somebody who could help on the farm.
Just so we know, Fuentes and Arenado are first cousins, I believe.
Cousins, okay.
Yep. So the farm system of the Rockies, David, 29th ranked overall. I have them 29th. I know you said 27th, so we're seeing about the same thing. Definitely both have them at the bottom for sure. This is not a good thing at all. This is not where the Rockies need to be with the situation that they're in. I'm going to go with Colton Welker, a 2021 ETA. He's the number 5 prospect for the Rockies. He was a high school shortstop who converted to third base. He's got a loose swing with above average bat control. He's bound to ready to step in 2021, so we could see him pretty quick here. He's on the path, kind of iffy with his defense, but he can no doubt rake. So that's what they're kind of worried about, is his defense a little bit. He rests the bat on his shoulder before he gets into his set position and then goes through a swing. It's pretty smooth. And the bat goes through the zone pretty nice as well. 2018 in high A ball, he had 13 bombs and had 82 RBI. That's pretty solid number of RBI. 333 average and 383 on base. And as well in 2017, 2018 is what he hit. 333, 383 on base. 2017, he hit 350 and 279 plate appearances. And he hit 329 in 2016 as well. So the man has hit for average. He's got an overall 313 batting average in the minors. So that's pretty solid. The man can rake. He's an average guy, which I know you love, David. So I think we're going to see him this year for sure. So Colton Welker, Rockies fans, he's coming your way. And hey, maybe to play some third base in the spot, Arenado just walked away from. And we'll see what McMahon can do over that third. So
I have Juris Montero, also a third baseman. He actually came over in that Cardinals trade. He was a international signing the same year as your boy Yohan Moncada, and so he was a highly touted guy. I think he got $300,000 to sign with the Cardinals back in the day. And one thing about him, he is a big stud, 6'3", 235 pounds. Don't know for sure if he's going to stick at third. They say he's got the arm, but not really the range. But you know how this goes, man. Take a guy like this, throw him in the thin air in Colorado, and he might do something. He's the 9th ranked prospect right now in their system. Again, strikes out a lot, but hits a lot of home runs. And I'm like you, somebody, if McMahon doesn't step into that third base spot, one of these guys might, and the other one might end up at first, to be honest with you, because they right now just have a short-term fix there. So watch out for those two guys. I mean, the problem with the Rockies system is not only is it thin on star caliber players, but the few that they do have, they're a long way away, DJ. Their number 1 prospect, his ETA is 2024. So, yeah. And actually another guy in their top 10, he's 2024 as well. So it's going to be a minute, Rockies fans. Honestly, if I'm you, I'm hoping, again, that we kind of tear down and get some new blood in there. So we'll see what happens this year, DJ. It's like I said, it's probably going to be a rough year. What about Coors Field, DJ? I believe it was built in '94 when the Rockies became a ball club. Have you ever been there? What do you think about it?
I have not, and I've always wanted to go to Colorado in general. So it seems like it'd be a nice winter destination, to be honest with you. I don't know exactly what to do there in the summer, but Denver seems like a really cool city, and I would definitely like to see this one. I've never been. The structure outside of the stadium looks really cool. I watched a drone go around the whole stadium there, and it's pretty cool to check it out. And it looks really nice structurally from the outside. Very cool. Big fan of the way it was set up. Mile High Stadium to Coors was built is where they played for a little while there, just where the Broncos had played. So they originally went to Mile High Stadium and played in like a football stadium, which that wasn't anything either. It's very special, but Coors Field's pretty nice. I like it. Rumor has it that the Colorado people like to get high, so Mile High Stadium is a really cool name for them, I guess. The rumor has it that they they're pretty high on their marijuana there. So, but yeah, no, Coors Field and Mile High, those are some crazy names for those crazy people out there in Colorado that like to do those kind of things. But no doubt about it. I think I want to go to that for sure. It's high on my list. It has been for a while there. It's probably like one of the top 7 of the 15 that I got left that I want to go see for sure. So what do you think about Coors?
I'm like you. I mean, there's nothing individually about it that stands out, but I read a review on it and I thought it hit the nail on the head. It's the classic new ballpark, kind of like Baltimore's field, Camden Yards. It's just when this new style of ballpark came out, this was one of the originals. It's got the brick outer shell, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw this, DJ. So Nomar Garciaparra, they were talking about the problem with the way the ball flies in Colorado and all that. He had an interesting idea. He says they should put a roof on that baby, and that would keep the snow out. We've seen that be a problem before in playoff season. I would hate to be playing October baseball in Denver. And so interesting thought there. I guess they could control the air, and so the ball wouldn't fly quite the same. And part of me says that would be a bad idea, and part of me says it'd be a good idea. I think it's kind of cool that each of these parks has their own individual characteristics. And one characteristic at Colorado is there's going to be offense. But at the same time, I think that keeps pitchers from wanting to go there. I know for me, if I was a pitcher, it'd be a last resort, to be honest with you. So anyway, just an idea. I'm sure that's been beat around. Had you ever heard that, DJ?
No, I had not heard that before. That's a very interesting thing for sure, though.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool idea, and maybe something again we might see down the line somewhere. So I'm like you. I'd love to go to Coors Field. That's kind of on my bucket list. That's one that might actually be doable for me with my sister in Wyoming. We could kind of pass through there and swing through that and see that. So one of these days we'll see. So DJ, what trivia you got for me?
Give me the top 10 Rockies and career hits.
Larry Walker.
Number 2.
Todd Helton.
Number 1. Should be a Hall of Famer, by the way. Let me just throw that in there.
I'm starting to agree with you. Sort of.
Yeah, you are. You voted for him. Don't lie to me.
I'm getting there. Troy Tulowitzki.
Number 8.
I believe Nolan Arenado is going to be on this list. He was there long enough, I think.
You got it.
Let's see here. Did I say Dante Bichette yet?
You did not. He's number 5. Ooh, this guy's on a roll. Don't hit the brakes now. You can do this.
I got to think of who else was around. Oh, Charlie Blackmon's probably on the list. He's been there a while.
Number 4.
Let's see. I'm still missing number 1, aren't I?
No, you got Helton.
Okay,
of course it's Todd Helton.
Vinny Castilla, my boy Vinny Castilla.
Oh, nice. You're nailing it. You got 3 more.
3 more to go. Okay, let's see here. I think I'm going through the infield. This is a long shot, but he was here for a minute, and he actually had a couple nice seasons. What about Eric Young?
Eric Young is not on there.
Probably wasn't there long enough. I remember he had a year where he definitely hit about 320 or 330.
Yep.
My boy DJ LeMahieu has got to be on that list.
Number 9. He sneaks on the bottom there. DJ indeed.
All right. I got 2 more to go. Again, I'm going down around the outfield there.
Doing pretty good, man. I'm kind of proud of you here. I don't know what happened to you. Normally, you're just getting like 3 or 4 of these, but you're doing pretty good, man. This is impressive.
Well,
I know your Rockies trivia.
Well, the deal is, this is all in our era.
Yeah,
so usually,
yeah.
there's all these guys in the 70s and stuff, and
Yep,
I wasn't
I
watching
agree.
baseball in the 70s.
1896 guy, Rabbit Miranda.
Exactly.
Is 3rd overall.
Exactly.
I get it.
Give me some hints on these last 2 guys.
So the one guy,
Carlos Gonzalez.
bingo, that is number 3. I was gonna say his nickname is Car Bomb. And you're missing one guy who started with the Rockies, ended up with the Cardinals there for a long time.
Your man crush, Matt Holliday.
I love Matt Holliday. Yep.
That's for Matt Kearns right there too. Matt drafted Matt Holliday like every year for like 12 straight years in fantasy baseball. He was definitely loving him some Matt Holliday.
I can't wait to beat Matt Kearns in fantasy baseball. Just throwing that out there too, by the way. I'm gonna smash it.
I don't think the odds are good. Unless Kearns loses his password, the odds are not good, DJ.
Maybe I can pay off the commissioner to make that happen. How's that work? What are we gonna make a deal here? We gotta block Kearns somehow to where he can't put his lineup.
All right, DJ, I got one here for you. I don't know if you'll get this one or not. I don't know if you were paying attention that much. In the team's inaugural season, they had a player win the batting title. He hit 370. Who was it?
Ooh, man, 370.
Yep.
Holy cow. That is pretty impressive to hit 370, period, let alone. Oof. Man. I'm trying to think like Vinny Castilla, Ellis Burks was on that team probably. Jeff Conine.
Those guys were around. Not any of them.
Andres Galarraga was around there.
That's your boy right there. Andres Galarraga.
That was the one?
Yeah.
Okay. Man.
Yeah, I of course, I've always known Andres Galarraga was a great player. But I just
370?
370. I never connected him and batting title. That never even crossed my mind. But Galarraga had some great years, man. He hit over 40 home runs three times in Colorado. So definitely pumped up his numbers there for a minute. 399 career home runs for Andres Galarraga, DJ. So,
he had a great career, man. He really did. The great Harry Carey would say his name backwards is Ragaga.
Oh man, that's awesome, Harry Carey. What an awesome announcer. Definitely
399 bombs in his career.
Yeah, no, it's funny. You look at his. He spent all that time in Montreal, and those 3 years in Colorado were definitely his best. 40 home runs all 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. So good career, unheralded guy. You wouldn't never say he was even a star, I don't think, other than maybe those 3 years, but definitely a very solid player. So it was cool to see that. I had no idea. So, well, DJ, what is your prediction, your final prediction for the Colorado Rockies?
I think we've kind of gave it away already here. 5th place, no doubt. I don't even have to tell you then who I got him ahead of because I don't have him ahead of anybody, so I'm not giving anything away here. No shot. This division is top heavy with 1 and 2. They're basically playing for 3rd, 4th, and 5th among those other 3 teams there, but the Rockies have no shot, especially if they end up at the deadline just blowing this thing up even worse. It's going to get even uglier. I'm very surprised they got out of the gate like they did last year. Don't see that happening this year. The farm system's very weak too, so long way to go here. The GM deserves to be fired. I really believe that. If he doesn't pull off some trades here, especially for Trevor Story, where he gets some legit guys back, then he just needs to hang it up, man, because he's already done a really bad job as a general manager there. And I don't see it, man. I really don't see them finishing above anybody in that division. What do you think?
I totally agree. So let's make this a different question. Will they finish the worst team in baseball?
Ooh, no. I'm going to go with no. The only reason I'm going to say no is because I really believe the Pirates are the worst team in baseball. I'm going to go number 1 Pirates for sure on that. I think the Rockies are close, though. I really do. I don't think that they have much of a shot of, they're definitely in the top 5 mix there. I really believe that. So yeah, it could happen, and it would not surprise me one bit. But I'll take the Rockies in a 5-game series against the Pirates any day.
I agree. So any teammates that were Rockies fans?
We got none, man. You got any shout outs to make? Anybody you know that's a Rockies fan or anything?
Make a shout out to my boy Casey Davis, who I believe at one point lived in Denver, and I think he knew somebody there. We're going to have to talk to him about that. He's in the next episode with the Orioles. We're going to circle back around. I think he knew some guys with the Rockies, maybe knew someone in ownership or something, or in management. And so that's the closest thing that I know of to a Rocky fan. I mean, including any of my friends outside of Temple or teammates or anything. He's the only person I know of, to be honest with you, that's ever attended a Rocky game that I can remember. So we'll have to talk to him a little bit more about that on the next episode with the Orioles. So
for sure,
well, DJ,
man.
Hannah's had her nap time.
You ready for yours now?
I think it's time. I'm ready for my nap time. Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up. We appreciate all you guys watching. As we always say, please like our page and share it. We've had some people watch that we know that we're not even connected to, and so that means you guys have maybe been doing a little bit of that. So we appreciate it. But keep doing that. We got what, DJ? About 20 teams to go.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
It's not looking good for us to make it before opening day, but don't give up.
We can't
give
give
our best
up.
shot.
I just found out even if we do one a day for the rest of the month, we're still going to be like 4 short. So we're going to have some nights where we got to burn some like legit midnight oil and pull off about 4 or 5 in a night if we could possibly do that when we don't have something going on the next day or something. For sure. So we'll try our best, fans, and everybody have a great night out there. David, as always, man, it's been fun. Go get your nap in, buddy.
All right, man. We'll see you.